from mid-2023 to 2024, I absolutely crushed it in sales and I immersed myself in the game of sales up until this point now as me shooting this video. And a big piece of this was tonality and mastering my tonality and understanding how to communicate effectively on calls. I was able to close over 2 million in revenue, generate over 2 million in revenue, most of it being cash collected up front, and was able to drive sales for multiple different offers, leading to myself making a bunch of money, having a bunch of freedom. And a big part of this was tonality. And it's something that I see talked about a lot in the sales space about tonality, how to have the right tonality, how to dial in your tonality. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So today I'm going to teach you sort of a master class on how I use tonality perfectly to make a bunch of money in sales so that you can do it too. In this video, I think there's 3 things you're really going to get out of this, and we'll keep it to the point. We're going to keep it very sharp in terms of the value. I'm not going to be all over the place, but there's 3 things you'll get from this video if you dive into it. Number 1, I'll teach you how to get fewer objections. So I don't believe in this whole objection prevention thing until you get really good at sales, where everyone kind of teaches you should just not get objections and try to run away from having objections on calls. I don't believe in that. You should just learn how to handle objections. But I do believe that you can run your calls in a way where you get fewer objections and you get better answers, which leads to you having a higher close rate. So I'm going to give you tools on that here. Then I'll talk to you about how you can start closing your deals way easier with way less resistance, which is going to lead to you making more money because it's not going to be like pulling teeth, but your prospects are kind of going to want to just play ball and have a conversation with you that's open, that's honest, that allows you to make a bunch of money, help a bunch of people, make the company a bunch of money. And then lastly, you're going to learn how to not be the sales guy. So this will teach you how to, when you have good tonality, you'll learn how to not be the guy who sounds like he's doing sales, which happens to a lot of sales pros, right? They sound like they're on a script. They sound like they're reading from a script. And you may think that you're not this person because everyone I talk to is like, I sound good in sales, I'm natural. You'd be surprised how many people think they sound great, but actually do sound like the sales guy, even to a small extent. So you don't want to sound like that at all. So this training is going to be very high level. If you're a complete, absolute beginner, you've never done a role play even, this is not for you. This is for you if you're in the sales game as a closer or an SDR and you want to get better and eventually be in a high-level closing position, or you're already making money as a closer, but you know you're not nowhere near your potential and you want to start pushing for 10, 15K, 20K months. This is going to help you get there. Okay, so the first thing we need to work on is we need to set a baseline of your personal relationship to tonality. What this means is that before I train you and before I give you insights on how to use tonality correctly or like what the correct tonality is, we need to set a baseline of actually how to relate to tonality as a sales pro in your mind, because there's a lot of people online who, or one specific guy that we all know who's like the father of this industry, or maybe one of the fathers. He's on like the Mount Rushmore of high ticket remote sales. You know who I'm talking about. And he emphasizes tonality like crazy. He's like, everything is about tonality. It's all tonality. Constantly tonality, tonality. And there's people who are kind of shitting on this in the industry. People who say, who cares about tonality? You should just learn objection handling. I'm sure you know who else I'm talking about there. It's not either or. Both of them are important. You need to learn objections, you need to learn tonality, but I'll explain to you 4 points that are going to set a baseline for how we relate to tonality that'll establish the theme for this training. So number 1, you have to understand that tonality doesn't work in place of a bad script and a bad process. So you could have the best tonality in the world, but if your scripting is bad, if your process is bad, tonality is not going to help you. So you need to understand and have a good piece of scripting. Scripting doesn't mean like just lines, but it means the process by which you sell. There are lines, of course. There's a script. Like we have a script. When I teach my guys sales, we have a script. Where do you want to be in terms of results? Like what are you looking to make when it comes to ecomm? What have you done to try to make that happen? How long has this been going on? What's holding you back from being there now? Like we have scripting we use, right? But tonality doesn't supersede a good script. So if your scripting is on point, combined with tonality, you're going to close at a high level, right? But it's not like take out good scripting and who cares and just focus on tonality. That's not the case. So if you're struggling to close deals and you're using a scripting that is not helping you, as an example, let's say scripting that is very past focused and past driven, like what happened before, tell me about what happened before, what happened there, odds are you're not helping yourself, even if you have the best tonality in the world. Number 2, tonality becomes very important if it's bad, right? So you can use tonality as an asset to get better on sales calls, and I talk about this in a second. That's the 4th point. But you can use tonality to get better on your calls, absolutely. But if your tonality is bad, it becomes very important. There's guys that I've worked with, that I've trained, guys I've seen in the sales space who have like a bad tonality where they kind of say things like, hey, so today we're going to work on this. Or like I'm asking you, like, what have you done so far? And the way they say it just sounds like they're doing sales. It sounds strange, sounds off. So in that case, I'm like, dude, tonality is super important. You need to learn tonality because that's actually holding you back. So tonality becomes really important if your tonality is very bad, to be clear. Number 3, tonality is not the first thing to learn, again, unless you're very bad. So when I train guys, when I train sales pros, I don't start off teaching them to have the right tonality. We work on that if it's a problem, and if it's something that's missing, I'm like, hey, let's add in tonality. But it's not like the first thing we start off with is tone. Yes and no, in a weird way. Like, yes, you want to have the right tonality, of course, and practice your tone. When you are practicing and when you are role playing and when you're on live calls, you want to have a good tonality and practice that. But for most people I've seen in the sales space, tonality is not the biggest thing that's going to change the whole sales game for them. It's not. It's learning how to handle objections, learning the right scripting, and learning how to be a leader, learning leadership. That's a big part of it, right? The fourth point here that I'm going to give you before we again train, I want to establish the baseline and then we'll get into the training, is you need to understand that tonality becomes very important when other aspects of your sales process are balanced. So that's why I said to you here, this is really going to be for you if you already have some kind of understanding of sales. If you understand how to use sales, if you understand the high ticket game to an extent, this video will change a lot for you and is going to help you make a bunch of money. But it helps to have a baseline set. So let's say you've never done sales before, you're just getting into it or you're trying to learn from me. I wouldn't start off with this video even. I would say there's tons of stuff I have on objection handling, tons of stuff I've got on leadership, on our scripting, on discovery process. Watch those first, some of them at least, and then come back and watch the tonality stuff. But if your process isn't set up, if your process isn't good, that's not going to be doing you any favors, even if you have the best tonality in the world, if that makes sense. So point number 4 is kind of an aggregation of all the 3 points before this. So we're going to go through a couple points here. 3 main points, like pieces of training that I'm going to give you that are going to change everything. I'll give you a high level principle and then we'll go through 2 action steps. So the high level principle is what I call authenticity. All right, this, my friend, is how you're going to make a bunch of money in sales using tonality. This is how I went from being a sales pro who was doing like okay. Because for me, what happened was I had 3 phases. Basically, I went from absolute shit where I was making 1 to 2K a month in commissions. I was stuck there for like 2 months. Then I bumped up to where I was doing 4 to 6K in commissions, and then I skyrocketed. I also offer stacked because the main offer that I was on didn't have a lot of volume, so I was working on another offer too. And I offer stacked, and then it ended up peaking out at 18K in commissions. Right, had months where I was doing 10K. Had a 14K, had an 18K month, did another 15K, like a 12K, and I was making good money, right? So, and I started helping other guys because I was very, very good at it. Also, I was a dating coach before, so that helped. Like years and years of going through dating stuff and understanding women and psychology helped me get better in sales faster than a lot of my peers. And there's a lot of principles when it comes to tonality that are relevant. So here's the way I changed everything for myself. The biggest thing was authenticity. Okay, tonality doesn't start like some trick. Tonality is not like a little trick, like just change your vocal tone and all of a sudden you'll start making money. It's not that, it's not a trick. The highest level principle is authenticity. Listen to me. Prospects are waiting on your calls nowadays, and high ticket sales and remote sales nowadays. Prospects are waiting for you to trip what I call the sales guy frame. They're waiting for it. They're bracing for it. The sales guy frame is where the prospect all of a sudden unconsciously feels, or consciously, they feel, I'm on a sales call. And their defenses go up, okay? The moment you have a prospect whose defenses go up, you now have an uphill battle for closing them. And that's when you start getting more objections. When someone has high defenses and they have high walls, emotional or logical barriers to being helped, to being, to having a conversation about buying something and making a change, whether it comes to starting a business, building a business they already have, losing weight, gaining weight, working on their dating lives, whatever other offer it would be, learning trading, learning a skill, whatever service business you'd be closing for. The moment a prospect's defenses go up, that's when your job becomes super hard. That's when your job becomes very difficult. So what I want as a closer is I want to be able to sell without a sales guy frame. Sales guy frame means I don't want the prospect to put me in the position within their own mind of like, this guy's trying to get something from me and he wants to close me. This guy just wants to close me. He just wants my cash. Now, again, there's the hidden understanding on the sales call. Of course, I'm there to make money. They're there because they may eventually buy something. There's that understanding. No one's delusional. Like, no one's stupid. Maybe some people are, but generally, we're not stupid in that. We get it, okay? We're here to look at you buying something. We get that. But I don't want to operate under that frame on the sales call. Does the difference make sense? I don't want the prospect to stick me in that position on the sales call because that's not going to help me. That's not going to help them. No one's going to be helped if they're like, you're trying to sell me something. So what I need to do is my tonality I need to make sure with my tonality that I never trigger that frame on a call. So your tonality on a sales call is extremely important for not triggering that frame and for disarming the prospect and allowing them to engage you, right? Here's how you can create a good tonality. And instead of me just giving you a bunch of like techniques, which I'm going to give you in a second, I'm going to give you two very powerful techniques if you can have the attention span to stick with the fucking video, which most people don't. But if you haven't clicked off by this point, you probably do have the attention span actually. So I'm going to give you two crazy powerful techniques that changed everything for me. But before I do that, I need you to understand this principle. You have to know why you're asking certain questions. That's where a good tonality comes from. Good tonality doesn't come from like a corny technique, because that's just gimmicks. It comes from you understanding why you are asking certain questions and by knowing the specific answers that you want. Does that make sense? A good tonality comes from you knowing why you are asking questions and knowing the answers you want. It sounds weird. But when you know the answers that you want to get and you understand the depth and the feeling of the answers you want on a call, you're able to ask questions more easily in a way that are going to get you those answers. So as an example, in our training program, we do a lot of exercises around this. We just did one yesterday on our training. And I did an exercise with my people where I said, you're going to have to go through the sales call, but act as the prospect and don't sell. So you're going to act as the prospect and only say the answers that you want to get and role play those answers. So what they would do is, let's say one of my clients, in our program, they'll sit and they'll say, I want to make 10K per month when it comes to, let's use sales, when it comes to remote sales. Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to look at different YouTube videos, and I got like a small course on school. I paid $100 for that. So what they're doing is the exercise is they're answering questions that they would want the prospect to give them, and they go through the scripting, but they act as the prospect, and they run through those questions out loud while they ask the questions as a sales pro in their head, right? And what we do in this exercise is I want my guys, and you can use this, to understand intently and deeply what answers they want to get on a sales call. Like, what answers do they want to get? What answers do they want to get to from the prospect? Or what answers do they want to hear from the prospect? Because when you can know what answers you want to get, you're more likely to ask questions in a way that is going to guarantee you those answers, right? So I'll give you an example. One question we ask in our scripting is a commitment gap. A commitment gap means does the person feel like they have to commit to making changes? And the way this question sounds is, let's say we're talking about, we'll do ecomm, because there's a lot of ecomm offers in the space nowadays. A lot of our people are closing on ecomm offers. So let's say you would ask the prospect, so do you feel like with the way you're doing things now, it seems like you're kind of all over the place, not a lot of structure. Do you feel like you're going to be able to see the results with this ecom business, building to 10K per month as quickly as you'd want to? Or do you feel like you are going to have to make some small changes to get there as quickly as possible? Okay, that's a question we have in the scripting. I know the answer that I want to get from the prospect. I want them to just say, yes, I need to make some changes. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. I don't want them to say yes, but. I don't want them to say yes, I think I'm going to get there kind of soon, but I may need to make more. I don't want any of that. I just want, yes, I definitely need to make changes. Okay? All right. The way I asked that question, I didn't have this crazy, weird tonality, but I asked the question in such a way where there was no gimmick, there was no trick behind it. I wasn't like going through the motions in the question. So because the way again, I'll give you technique in a second, but because I asked the question in such a way that would be nearly guaranteed to get me the answer that I want, I'm allowing the prospect to mirror that and give me back a very, very powerful answer. In this case, the powerful answer is yes. That's it. There's no other complications. The powerful answer I want from the prospect here is yes. That's it. And again, the way I ask it has a lot of space. It has a lot of weight. I'm asking it seriously. I'm not doing it as a gimmick. It's not corny. I'm really asking the question. I guess, do you feel like you're gonna have to, make some small changes to get to where you want to be as quickly as possible? Or how do you feel? Look at how I asked the question. There's weight behind it, right? There's depth behind that question. There's a lot behind it, right? So I'm going to give you techniques for how you can do this, but the high-level principle is authenticity. It's authenticity. We're going to go through two action steps that you can plug into your sales calls right now that are going to change everything. The first one is what we call adding weight, okay? Adding weight, and you can use this, you can learn from it, plug it into your system. So at a certain level, some real shit here, at a certain level, sales is acting. That's the truth. No one in the industry is going to tell you this, but I will tell it to you. Sales is acting. Very good modern remote sales pros, and I'm talking remote sales and sales in general, but my specialty is remote sales, high ticket sales through Zoom. All right. So good remote sales pros are literally actors. That's a fact. They're actors, because what you do is similar to an actor who's being on camera. Imagine fucking Tom Cruise shooting Mission Impossible. That's an action film, but you get the idea, right? Then they say action, he's doing the same scene 5 times in a row, 5, 10 times, 15 times in a row. The same lines, the same thing. You as a remote sales pro, you're gonna be on 5 to maximum 10 calls a day, having the same conversations over and over and over again. So which means that when you deliver your scripting, you need to be able to do it with so much conviction and so much weight where it sounds like it's the first time you've ever asked that question before. You're an actor, right? Because you've asked these questions before already, over and over and over again. It doesn't feel like anything to you because you've done it again. I know this because when I was on my dating offer, when I was closing on the biz op, when I was closing on offers, like I was asking the same questions 5, 6 times a day, and at times I'd be like, fuck, okay, I've already had this conversation 50 times in the last month, right? But your paycheck is on the line. This person's future is on the line. The company's success is on the line. So you have to be able to deliver it effectively. So the first step is called adding weight. And what this means is that you need to be able to appear in thought with your questions. That's what we call adding weight. Adding weight means the prospect has to feel similar to an actor, again, who's delivering a line for the 10th time, but it sounds good every fucking time. The prospect has to feel that you are deep in thought. And deep in thought doesn't mean that you're literally meditating, so don't take my words out of context or add too much to them. Deep in thought just means that there's a certain level of depth, a certain level of certainty in how you deliver your questions. Today we're not going to focus on certainty because that's more so confidence, that's not mostly tonality, but depth. Depth meaning the prospect feels this sales pro, this person who's talking to me is thinking about this. There's weight behind it. There's real shit behind it. It's really significant. There's a real reason they're asking me these questions. They're not just going through the motions. The prospect has to feel this because remember, the prospect is going to mirror your level of certainty. The prospect is going to mirror your level of seriousness. So I'll demo a question, right? Let's say we go the future question, future pacing, going into this, I call it desire, right? Like what happens next? So as an example, one of the ways we would ask this question is, this is a crappy way to ask the question. So making 20K per month, like what does that do for you, like personally, outside of just the numbers on the screen? Crap, terrible. There was no weight, there was no feeling behind it. So the prospect is gonna go, it would be good. It would be nice. There's no significance, there's no realness. Listen to how I will ask this with the right kind of tonality, adding in weight. Tonality is not about, what would that do for you? Like, personally, fuck that. It's too difficult. You don't need to do that. You just need to add in weight and you need to add in pacing. Okay, here's how it would sound. So I guess, and this is how I asked the question. So I guess, making 20K a month for you, John, what does that really do for you? Like, personally. And I mean, outside of just the numbers that are in your bank account, because those are just numbers at the end of the day, what does it like really do for you personally, making that kind of money, having that freedom? Tell me about that. That's the tonality. Do you see the level of weight? I'll do it again, and I'll coach you through it as I'm doing it, so you can add this to your calls, or your role plays as you get better, right? So for you, let's say making 20K per month, what does that really do for you? Like, hear the pause, I take a beat in script writing. Screenplay writing, they call it a beat. Beat is where you take a pause. What does that do for you, like personally? And I mean, beyond, you hear the little stutter, that beyond the, that's purposeful. I'm adding in weight, I'm pausing, it's acting, right? I am embodying the question in the scripting, I'm embodying it. I'm adding in weight and significance to it. I'm taking it very seriously. I take every piece of the game seriously. What does that do for you, like personally? And there's the pause again, and beyond the numbers on the screen, of course, because those are just, numbers at the end of the day. What does it actually do for you in terms of the freedom, in terms of the future? Tell me about that, brother. Look at my eyes. You see my eyes? It's like, I wonder. I see closers, bro, that come in all the time, and they have zero expression. They're just like, what does that do for you, like personally? Look at my eyes. There's no fucking soul. Oh, okay. You have to have soul. You have to have feeling in the questions, the scripting. There has to be a level of embodiment of what does that look like? I'm just here to help, actually. So tell me more about that. When you handle objections, I'm just curious, when you take time and go away and think about things, what's coming up for you, just to see if I can help? Do you see the tone, the embodiment? That's step one. That's the first exercise, adding in weight. You want to add in weight, pacing, okay? Hopefully it makes sense. If you want to dive into this more, by the way, quick little ad, but I'm not selling you anything, it's free. Quick little ad here. You can join my school community, because in my school community, we train on sales during the week, and it's free, and we have the best. I would actually pull up and share my screen here, but I'm not going to switch to screen share. I'm just talking to the camera here. But in our school community, we have tons of free training on sales. Like all the stuff I'm going over with you here, I go over in depth in our school community, and it's free to join. It's completely free. You pay nothing. There's no, you don't even have to, I think you have to put in an email, but outside of that, that's it. And I don't even send out emails right now, so you're not going to get spammed and shit. You just go to join the community, and there's so much free training. Our free training, and I did it this way on purpose, is better than a lot of the paid stuff out there. So what you'll get for free in our community is basically what you would get in a low ticket course, for sales, a very good one, right? That's what you're getting. You get all my stuff on objections. I show my live calls in my school community. You can interact with me and my team, my people, and essentially train and get better at your skill set without investing any income. And then, of course, eventually, if you want to get into our stuff, you can invest in proper training with me. But it all starts for free in the school community. So check it out. The link is below. It's school.com/quantum level. You can join it. Okay, let's get back to training. So the last action step I'm going to give you, and this is the real powerful one here, which will change the whole game for you if you do this right, is what I call pacing and language control. So the first one was adding weight, which I did say a bit of pacing there. This one is pacing and language control. So you've got to add space between your statements. You can't rush through. That's what pacing means. So the adding weight would be appearing in thought, considering, right, thinking before you ask them. Pacing would be, and language control would be not rushing through the words. Allowing your words to sit, because allowing your words to sit is going to make your words more important. And this is a powerful aspect in the game of sales that a lot of people miss. You have to allow your words to sit. And I did an example of that, but I'm going to run through it again. It's language control. A lot of people think tonality is about, again, these weird vocal inflections because they've seen people teach this online. And I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that was really good stuff. But nowadays, the industry has evolved. Buyers are more aware, so when you ask the corny little questions like, and what would that feel like? It kind of gets fucking stupid, to be honest. And I've been on a bunch of fucking sales calls, and it's pretty stupid doing that all the time. It doesn't mean it's not helpful sometimes, but if you're closing fitness, it can work maybe, but generally you don't need to be like, and tell me, what would that feel like? You don't need to do that, okay? It's helpful sometimes. Again, I'm not disrespecting anyone, but it's not necessary. So what we actually want to do, though, is just add pacing and language control, which means that you want to make sure that your words have more weight. You want to make sure that you deliver your words where each of them pierces the prospect. So I'll give you a demo. We'll demo it, right? We'll talk about consequence questions. So a consequence question would be, I'm going to give you 2 demos, would be like, what does the future look like, the negative side, if you don't make changes, if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Here's what the consequence sounds like. I'll do the right version first. We'll go to the correct version. So that's success. That's the top of the mountain for you, where you make a whole bunch of money. You give yourself freedom. Even the that I'm doing is not accidental. It's on purpose. The adds weight. Can be helpful. Can be like, I'm not sure of what I'm saying, not as in I lack confidence, but the if you're not, it's like stuttering. You can use the very powerfully. The is like, I'm thinking of what to say next because I'm not saying this all the time, right? If you just say everything all the time, you'll never ever say because you know the lines perfectly. But if you want to appear that you're doing something for the first time, you will say at times. You know, you're thinking of things. So I'll say, you know, the top of the mountain for you, the success would be hitting 20K months, having that kind of freedom for yourself and for your family, which I know you want. The other side though looks like you don't make changes, you know, not having the success, not having achieved what you wanted because you didn't take the steps to make that happen in your life. Can I ask, what would the negative consequence of that be if that happens to you? What does that look like going forward? There's the weight, right? The bad version of this, what you don't want to do would be, that's a success for you, the top of the mountain, you have success with your family, you build to 20K months, you have a bunch of freedom. The other side looks like you don't make changes and you stay in the same place. Can I ask, what does that look like going forward if you don't make changes? And what's going to happen is your prospects, if they don't feel like you're asking these questions with weight and with depth and with pacing, if you don't have the proper delivery, if you don't have control of your language, which is where tonality, a lot of it comes from, by the way. It's not like only a tone, right? The whole definition of tonality can be very different if you do it the right way. If you don't do it properly, your prospects will not respect your questions and they will not play ball. That's going to happen. I've seen it with a lot of sales pros. I've reviewed so many calls where I've seen this happen. It used to happen to me, right? So the tonality matters and the pacing matters. Another demo, a good example would be objection handling. Let's say someone says, I got to go talk to the wifey. All right, I got to go talk, before I invest in this man, this sounds amazing, I have to talk to the wife. How would we handle this? Listen to the pacing. Listen to it. I'm not doing this for my health. I'm sitting here training you to get you better. Okay, so watch this. So I'm just curious for you, like, when you may have gone to her with something like this in the past, you know, something similar in a conversation may have come up between you two. What might have come up that would have prevented you guys from moving forward with something like this? I'm just asking to see if I can help at all. There we go. All right. The tone. You hear the pacing. What might have come up to prevent you guys from moving forward with something like this? Just asking to see if I can help at all. I'll end with this. The tone is not about all these up and down vocal things, like I've already said it a billion times. The tone, having good tonality, is actually about using your voice, using your body language, using your eyes, your face correctly and powerfully. That's what tonality is about. That's what having a good tone is about. And that's what's going to make you money, right? And I've shifted the whole meaning of tone because tonality, to be clear, it is actually just the tone of your voice. That's the definition of tonality. But I want you to think bigger than that as a sales pro. I want you to use every asset in your disposal. And something that helped me close really well and make a bunch of money and be able to teach a bunch of people and help them have amazing success is understanding how to use every aspect of the game, right? My face, my body language, everything, all of it. My voice, all of it is used. Okay, that's going to make you a bunch of money. That's going to give you freedom. And that's what I want for you. That's why I make these trainings. That's why I make this content, so you can have freedom, okay? Hopefully this meant something. Hopefully you learned from it. You got some value here. Keep rolling. Keep making money. Keep crushing it. We're going to keep pushing to close out the year. And we'll keep pushing for success over the next or maybe this is happening in the new year. When am I uploading this video? I'm probably going to upload it. Today's Saturday. I'm shooting. I'll put it up Monday. So right before the new year, I guess. All right, we'll put it up then. Cool. That's it. Be blessed. Join the community. The school community is free. If you want to make more money, we'll help you with that. Stay out of the haze. Time to make some money. Set yourself, set your family free. Goodbye. I'll see you on the next one.